The Fantastic Four are about to make their MCU debut, which means that everybody is talking about them for the first time in a very long time. And the MCU hasn't been going too strong lately. A lot of people are hoping that the Fantastic Four will inject some positive vibes into it going into Avengers Age of Ultron and or Age of Ultron, please.
You're the time machine here.
Doomsday and Secret Wars. Excuse me. But that's got us wondering about the importance of the Fantastic Four as a brand, as a group of characters in Marvel space. Could Marvel function without the Fantastic Four? Are they essential to Marvel's world?
Here's what I think about when this question jumps up to me. It's I think of two things really here. The first is that like the Fantastic Four is known as Marvel's first family. It really helped cement like the Kirby and Stanley genesis of it all really helped cement the world as being cohesive and the world as being the world outside your window. There's people reacting to Galactus coming in, and this is the first family to save the Marvel universe. So I think in terms of historical context, super important. But I know you all lived it. Post Secret Wars, when the Fantastic Four were off the table, felt weird in comics.
Point.
It felt weird. It took a little while. We eventually had the Marvel 2-in-1 by Chip Zdarsky, which was like 0.5 of the Fantastic Four. But and that was like, okay, it feels good. But there was some kind of DNA missing, some special sauce from the Marvel Universe in comics once the Fantastic Four were off the table. And when they were off the table for some entertainment movie political reason, really, it was just weird.
So are Reed and Sue the two most important characters in the Marvel universe?
It's a dynamic between the four that needs to be around.
Hmm.
I take this question like practically because every character in Marvel is a tool. And I'm just saying that from the perspective of like, if you're sitting down to write a story or come up with a concept, then each character, their personality, their powers, whatever, is an option that you have on the table. And when you don't have access to Reed Richards, for example, there's a lot that you lose um, based on the way that he's been built up, right? He's this genius. He's the guy that can come up with a machine that's going to solve the big space fight problem, right? His family is the family that can go to space and, oh shit, we met the Skrulls. Now that's a problem we got to deal with, or the negative zone. All these things that come from the Fantastic Four's adventures that you don't even think about. Think about how many characters and concepts came from the Fantastic Four that are really in their ecosystem. Silver Surfer, Galactus, Negative Zone, Annihilus, right? All of those things come from their neck of the woods.
Just from like just from like everything that like Doctor Doom is a Marvel villain now. I mean, we're in the middle of One World Under Doom. Doesn't exist without the Fantastic Four. And I think like without that, you lose a good integral parts of the original Secret Wars. You lose, you know, the Hickman Secret Wars. There's a lot that cutting out that foundation, a lot of it starts crumbling apart.
Yeah, I mean when you look at those years that Tyler was just referencing, there is a hole. There is a hole because you're always just like, well, what is this character's reaction? What is that character's reaction going to be? Look at Civil War, and look at how big a part the Fantastic Four played in that, where it was just like that event split their family up. It gave the writers the tool of the emotional turmoil within the Fantastic Four family, to up the emotional stakes of that event.
I also think they sort of, I'm still working out this thought. So, we might have to talk this out, but I think they also sort of represent the characters that Marvel has. You've got your Reed Richards, who sits, among like Tony Stark and Hank Pym and the other billion geniuses that the that Marvel has. You've got the Thing who sits with the Hulk and Thor and again the other super strong guys. Johnny Storm that sits with like Spider Man and the other young hotheads, Hawkeye. Um, this is where it gets a little shaky for me, I think, but I think we'll get there together. The Invisible Woman, I think, sits, originally with like the more matronly characters, right? You've got your Aunt May, you know, but also like I think she now and as the series progressed and the years have gone by, you've got like the Wasp and I would even dare say you could put her along the lines of Nick Fury.
While you were laying that out, I was thinking about Invisible Woman along the lines of Marvel has a lot of extremely capable, like absurdly powerful women characters.
Yeah.
I think about Jean Grey, Phoenix, Storm as well. I think those women are on a like Invisible Woman arguably is the most powerful of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Just like you could make that argument for Storm or Jean in their spaces. And on the Avengers, you have Scarlet Witch. So I feel like every corner of Marvel has, to your point, an Invisible Woman esque character.
Mm, mm.
And I was looking at the dead zone of when Fantastic Four wasn't being published. That's 2015 to 2018. So we had a full 3 years of this, which I forgot it was a full 3 years. But this was during like the all new, all different era. That kind of spun out of Secret Wars, where Inhumans were essentially replacing the X-Men too because of all this Fox stuff. The Thing was on Guardians of the Galaxy. Like that didn't feel right. It felt like trying to make fetch happen in
Yeah.
comics when the first thing I think about when I think of the Marvel universe is the Marvels, the comic with Galactus, getting to New York City and the Fantastic Four showing up. Like that's quintessential Marvel comics. So when you get rid of that, and there were some, talking about all different Marvel is a whole different can of worms. That not just removing the Fantastic Four made it feel weird. But that is such a core point that when you remove those archetypal characters, what do you have? Like I'm looking at like who was maybe filling that role at the time, the mother aspect that Sue was. It was probably Medusa at that time.
Trying. Yeah.
Yeah, where is she now? Nowhere. So it's yeah, it's just these characters are super important, and I'm glad that similar to Superman, we're in a space where the publisher is recognizing that and we're leaning into it.
The funny thing is, we don't even have to stretch our brains that much to think about a Marvel universe without the Fantastic Four because we've had it for well over a decade with the MCU, right? So the MCU has never had them and is about to. And we already know what feels absent, right? There is no family in the MCU. So like the closest thing we've gotten is like the found family of the Guardians of the Galaxy, or more recently with Thunderbolts, but Fantastic Four is definitely more of a family than that. It's got literal siblings. They go on to have children. It's a family.
And think about how everyone always wanted to like not fan cast but fan write the Fantastic Four in the MCU. It's always at the advent. Oh, they were there already. Oh, they got stuck in a portal somewhere. It's a different universe where they were the original superheroes. Like them being the original heroes is part of them.
Mm. Even what we know about the world they seem to be coming from, from the film, uh, is this 1960s era, you know, Earth where they're either the only ones or They are certainly the first ones, the most celebrated, certainly.
Yeah, I believe they are the only ones, and that is compelling to me because I could see that. Like it's very believable. And I'm excited. Okay, we're on the eve of Fantastic Four dropping as a film. We're just a month away. So it's really present, but I want to say I'm more excited for that than I am for the X-Men joining, just because the Fantastic Four is so core to everything that Marvel is. And it's wild that they haven't been around in the MCU. And I think you have so much mileage that you can get from the whole suite of characters that you now have access to. No Doom. 15 plus years they haven't had access to Doctor Doom. It's crazy.
And like the X Men comparison is pretty interesting because like you can take the X Men out of Marvel and it still feels like X Men to me.
Yeah.
Um, because it's almost completely separate. It's weird when Spider Man can't interact with Human Torch. It's
Mm-hmm.
weird when Hank Pym can't, have a discussion with Reed Richards. It's weird that Namor can't be around to thirst after Sue Storm, but separate the X Men, they're fine by themselves. They're good. The Marvel Universe feels weird without the Fantastic Four, and it's felt like that way in the movies for sure. And it's also like exciting that the movie's coming out because historically they haven't been great Fantastic Four movies. So there is a bit that's like, okay, maybe now is their chance. Maybe we're gonna get the good one finally, the best one since the Roger Corman one.
I'll tell you this, the movie has to be good. I think that in the history of the MCU, there are three movies that absolutely had to be good: Iron Man,
Mm.
Avengers 1, and this one, Fantastic Four. I think everything else, whether you liked it or you didn't like it or whatever, there wasn't as much pressure as these. And that's why I think Kevin Feige is looking very closely at Fantastic Four and making sure that it feels exactly pitch perfect.
And it's great that we're seeing that reflected in the comics right now too. You know, your mileage may vary on whether or not you like One World Under Doom, but there's at least Marvel putting resources to those characters. Fantastic Four front and center there. The Fantastic Four comic has been one of, if not the best Marvel comic, ongoing comic to be out, and they're relaunching that for Marvel reasons. But there's heat there as well, which is refreshing. It's really refreshing to be able to read.
Look, it's Fantastic Four fever. People are excited. I can't wait. I wish the movie was coming out tomorrow because I would love to watch it. Um, what are your thoughts on the Fantastic Four? And well, I want to ask this, but I want to ask it to the audience because we're going to have this conversation in another context. Who is your favorite member of the Fantastic Four? Who is your favorite character in that space? Let us know in the comments below. We will see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care.